Wayne, did you do your census form this year?
Of course. What about you? Did you do it?
Yeah, I did. I even did it early so I wouldn't forget, but my neighbour mixed up the forms and I got a special visit from the census people to make sure that I'd completed my dwelling form.
Oh, I used to get special visits from the principal, but I reckon it's a really important part of being a citizen, being able to communicate data and put data across that helps make long-term decisions for our communities.
Yeah. When I was at university, I spent some time studying demography, like population studies, and one of the primary data sets that we used was census data. It's valuable because it shows everyone and because it's longitudinal. It shows the changes over time.
I thought longitudinal was being a worm or something, but do you know that we send out, here at the National Sports Centre, we send out statistics forms each year?
Yeah, I saw them last year. So we send them out to each of our churches asking how many attendees, members and baptisms they've had over the previous 12 months.
Yeah, and it's quite useful. Sometimes it seems like it's all admin, but the New Zealand Baptist statistics have been going for a long time now, I think back into the 80s, the decade that was the best decade. And since then, as you've said, we've had a comprehensive set of longitudinal data. And I was reading the stats report in the 2022 yearbook the other day, and the research and interpretation of trends over time can be really helpful to see where we as a movement is tracking. And unfortunately, some of our churches don't participate, which is a bit sad, because we'd really love everyone to participate so we get that full data set.
And while the questions that we ask in the annual stats return are valuable, sometimes it might feel like it's more big picture in numbers rather than digging deeper at the local level.
Yeah, and you know that I'm an accountant and I love numbers, and I think it's important that local faith communities are assessing how they're doing in more of a deep dive type of sort of scenario.
Because it's not really just about numbers.
Or bums on seat, as we often say.
Yeah, so we need to think about ways that we can measure the important things that go on in our local faith communities. How are people growing spiritually? How involved are they? And do people feel a sense of belonging in our communities?
Yeah, perhaps we should get Mike in here. How
Yes.
about... Hey Mike, do you want to come in here for a sec, please?
Okay. Hi.
G'day Mike.
Hi.
How you going?
Oh, the coffee smells good.
Yeah, Common Good Coffee. Get into it.
Good choice.
It helps missions, Baptist missions, if we drink Common Good Coffee. And there are statistics associated with Common Good Coffee. Every cup contributes a financial benefit to missions. Anyway, sorry.
What are you talking about?
So we just talked about statistics, right? And how we need to better measure how our churches are doing, but just more than numbers.
And I heard you're doing something in this space, Mike.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing me in to talk about this. This year, we're encouraging our local churches to do what is called the Church Life Survey. So this is a New Zealand survey of churches that runs each census year. So it's a survey that takes about 10 to 15 minutes that you try to get as many people in a congregation to do, probably on the same day. And it does. I ran through the questionnaire a couple of weeks ago and timed myself. It took 8 minutes for me to answer all of the questions. So I think if you're allocated about 10 to 15 minutes, maybe at the end of a church service, so after the benediction, you kind of encourage people to stick around and they can do it on their smartphones. Each church gets a QR code that they can scan and sit, and people in the congregation can fill it out on their phones, or else you can print it out and write it old-fashioned style, and we'll gather the data that way.
Very important to do that after the threefold Amen, after the benediction. But what kind of questions does it ask?
Yeah, it asks questions about demographics, so who are the people, what stuff about the people in your congregation. But it asks things like their church involvement, their belonging to that faith community, what people think about the Bible, community involvement, wider community involvement, I think, what they're finding beneficial within this faith community, how often people are personally engaging with God. Like there's a question I really like, and it asks, it's something about people's engagement with the Bible. So if I was preparing sermons as a pastor, thinking about local congregation, if I knew that 80% of the people in my congregation were reading the Bible themselves during the week at least 3 times. That would be different than if I knew that people in the congregation were never reading the Bible during the week, and the only time they had engagement with the scripture was when they came to church services. So from a preaching perspective, and this is just one little bit of data you can gather from the survey, that would shape the way that as a leader of the church I was engaging with that particular faith community. So that's just one kind of question the survey seeks to get information about. It tries to get information about what people imagine about the future of this particular local church as well. So what might they think it would be like in 10 years' time?
Sounds like some pretty good questions in there. The real question that I have is, how much does it cost to run something like this?
Well, the good news, Catharina, is that this time round, the National Support Centre, we're covering the cost for Baptist churches to participate in the Church Life Survey. So there is a cost to this, but we think it's such a useful tool. We want to encourage local churches to do this, so we don't want finance to be a barrier to each local church's participation.
I'm starting to break out in a cold sweat here, actually. But that's really good that our churches don't have to pay for that. So how do they sign up, Mike?
Yeah, so each church does have to register separately, each local church, we've got instructions on how to do that on our webpage. So if anyone interested goes to baptist.nz/church life survey, and that's church-life-survey, or on the baptist.nz website, in the top menu, find the resources menu, and under administration, you'll see a Church Life Survey bit of like a thing to click. You also need a code when you register to be part of the Baptist Churches of New Zealand group. And so that code we've been putting in our monthly support crew email that goes out to churches, or you can email us or phone us up at the support centre here and we'll give that code. That code just means that a local church is hooked into our group and you don't have to pay. We'll be invoiced here for the churches that participate.
It sounds like this is quite a great opportunity for churches to get some information on some of those deeper and descriptive data points about their local faith community, and a chance to touch base with your congregation on questions that you maybe wouldn't normally ask from the pulpit.
Yeah, I think this is a real gift for a local church. It's a relatively easy way to gather deeper insight into the people of a local faith community. It's a real neutral way to do it, because you're asking everybody the same questions, so you're not narrowing down a particular group to ask them for information. It's just everyone gets the same questions, much like the census that we do nationally as a country every, I think it's 5 years, isn't it? I kind of want to take this opportunity as well to thank the Church Life Survey team. So there are a bunch of people that are making this happen. They're working really hard to make it as easy as possible, and skilled people have thought about which questions are the best to ask, and this has been happening for a long time now as well. So it's building on what has been, but it's not a Baptist thing. It's a national Churches of New Zealand kind of thing, and any church in the country can participate in this if they'd like to. But I'd just like to thank the Church Life Survey people. And while I'm mentioning that they've got their own website. So if you go to the baptist.nz page that I mentioned before, we've got a link to the Church Life Survey webpage, and on that page you can get a sample of you can see the questionnaire. So if you're wondering what other questions are asked, you can see that before you sign up. And what else is on that website? There's a FAQ section. So I reckon if you're thinking a question now and you want the answer to that, there's a high chance that'll be on the Church Life Survey FAQ section. So have a look.
Do you have to have a smartphone to do the survey? No, so
you might have 20 people that don't have smartphones. You just print them out on your church photocopier and do it that way.
Well, thanks, Mike, for talking to us about that and being willing to chat.
Yeah, just before I leave, hopefully your church will have signed up for this, and Catharina, your church will be signing up to this as well, which is, we go to the same church, don't we? So I'll leave that for you.
I'll blame you if they don't.
All right, thanks for jumping on board.
Cool, thanks, Mike. So that's stats, folks. Annual statistics returned from the National Support Centre, and now a chance to get involved in the Church Life Survey. So make sure your church gets counted.
Yeah, thanks again for listening to another conversation with It's All Admin.
See you next time.